Okay, I'm going to go over how to use TattApp, the app for practicing tattoo techniques. So when you open it up, you'll see up top are all your needle selections. We've got your liner needles, 3 through 7. We've got a 9 round. We've got magnums, 7 through 27, and then soft edge magnums, 9 through 27. And I'm always updating TattApp and trying to improve it, so there may be more needles in the future. Also be aware that TattApp is going to get a redesign over the next couple months to basically try and make it look prettier. But for now, all the functionality is in place. So I'm going to go over all the different features. You can't just start drawing. Even if you select a needle, you can't start drawing. You've got to lay out your palette first, all your colors. And the way you do that is with the color picker over here. You press this icon here and that'll pull up a color picker. This is a simple color picker. If I go over in the red hue, there's a slider for going dark to light, so basically controlling the value of your color. However, after using this for a while, I realized there was no way to control the chroma. So the way I would do that, and this is also the way I do it when I'm tattooing, is I'll lay out some colors, but then I'll also lay out some grays so I can knock down the chroma. So the way you would do it with this is there's a grayscale option for your color picker right here if you click on that. So here I've laid out the same value gray. So this gray is the same value as this red. Now to close the color picker, there's a close button here. You can also tap on the color picker, or you can also pick a color. That'll get rid of your color picker. Now when you click a color, right here tells you what color is selected. Now when I talked about knocking down the chroma, this is a very high chroma red. If I want to knock down the chroma, I can dip into the gray, and this is what I do when I'm tattooing as well, is I can tap in the gray, and that'll knock down the color of the red, or knock down the chroma, I should say. So I started thinking that maybe this might be a bit cumbersome. It's a two-step process, so I added the another color picker, and that's why there's this advanced button here. When you click on this, this brings up a more advanced color picker. So maybe I'm pre-mixing my colors and not dipping between them. And so to do that in your palette, you can do that easier with the advanced color picker by choosing something that's getting more closer to the center of the wheel. And maybe I can knock down the value as well. So then I can choose that color directly instead of mixing. So that's an option. And you may be thinking, well, why don't you just stay with this color picker instead of this one? I figure there's a lot of people out there who aren't as familiar with these type of color pickers, so I just left this in and gave you the option to have a more advanced one if you need it. When you're dipping between colors, obviously that changes. Well, if you want to get to this gray, obviously clicking on it doesn't give you a gray. So what you need to do is rinse your needle. Just click in the rinse cup. That clears your color, and then you can choose your color fresh. I've also added the option to be able to delete colors from your palette. You just hold on it, and then a dialog will come up asking you, are you sure you want to delete that? And just go ahead and hit yes. Once you have some colors to work with, and you can sit here and choose as many as you want, go ahead and close the picker. You could start tattooing at this point. Let's go ahead and click a black and discuss some of these other features. When you draw, your hand speed definitely affects the outcome of your stroke. You can see that the needle punctures are getting further apart the faster my hand moves. And to demonstrate this more clearly, you have a machine speed down here with this slider. Right now it's set to very fast. If I go down to very slow and I do this exact same stroke, you can see the spacing between the needle punctures is a lot greater. So that's where the power of this app comes in, is the simulation of needles creating marks in the skin. So that was a regular magnum. If I choose a soft edge magnum, you can see that the edges are a little softer, and soft edge magnums are great when you're trying to do shading, more realistic style. And also the pressure sensitivity of the tablet helps simulate the depth of your needle going into the skin. Because when I'm shading, I'm going in and out to help feather that edge. and building up the saturation. Okay, also you'll notice these blue icons down here of the needle on its corner. So these represent corner shading. This pair is exactly the same as this pair. I just implemented them for convenience for right or left-handed artists. So selecting a corner shade icon will initiate the corner shading feature. Now, if you're not sure which edge you're going to be working on, you can set the pen lightly on the screen and a little pointer cursor will come up to show you how the stroke is going to lay. So then if I make this stroke, you can see that it's darker along the corner edge and feathers out. And then choosing the other one is just the opposite edge. You can turn those off just by selecting them. Okay, so now I can clear the canvas just by clicking on the trash can icon. One drawback to this is it also clears out your palette. So that's another feature I'm going to be adding hopefully pretty soon, to where you can choose whether or not you want to keep your palette before you clear the canvas, because I think that would be important. You can import an image to use as your stencil. So right now I'm using Procreate to create my line work. What I'm hoping to do with TattApp in the future is to implement a drawing feature like Procreate, to where you can create your stencils from inside the app, and that way you're not having to use them both. However, most tattoo artists I know that are using iPad Pros are using the Procreate app. It's a great app. So what I've done is I've created a stencil, and then I found this picture on the internet and converted it to black and gray, and then I put that in as well, so that I could use that as reference while I was practicing in TattApp. So I brought that over, and the way you bring it over is this little icon right here will open up your photos. I'll click Use, and that brings it into TattApp. Now you'll notice there's a Done button and a Revert button up here. So anytime you bring in a photo, you have the option to move it around, scale it, and the Revert just puts it back to how it was, and that may not seem useful at the moment. So once you have that in place, you can hit Done, and that commits it to your screen. Now you'll notice this icon came up. This is an Edit Image button. All this does is allows you to go in and move it around some more. And this is where the Revert, you could be moving it around and then realize, oh, I need it back to where it was. Just click Revert. Done. So this is your stencil image. There's a slider right here that controls the transparency of that image. And then this visibility icon just turns the visibility on and off. That comes in handy when you're working and you want to see what your work looks like without the stencil underneath. So I want to demonstrate this multiply button down here. So when you're working, go ahead and choose a soft edge. Let me just choose a black. And let's say you're wanting to do a gradient from dark to light, a nice transition. So now I'm going to rinse. I'm going to go to a medium value gray. Rinse, and let's go to a lighter gray. So what you're seeing, and I can really demonstrate it here if I just take that light value gray and go over the top of this black. Normal ink doesn't react this way. If you put in a dark color on skin and then try and go over the top of it with a lighter value, the lighter value is not going to be this saturated. It's not going to cover that black. So that's where this multiply feature comes in. If you want to get a simulation that's more closer to what it's like when you're tattooing, I would turn that on. Now if I take that lighter value, notice it does not affect the black at all. And it works the same with colors as well. I'll choose a dark value first. I'm going to rinse, go to the red, rinse, go to the lighter value. I'm using the pressure of the Apple Pencil to simulate the depth of the needles going in. And so now you can see I've got a nice smooth transition from dark to light. So that's what the multiply button's for. Okay, so the camera icon is the same as import image. This just pulls up your camera. So say you have some artwork that you drew on a piece of paper and you want to use that as a reference or as a stencil, you can take a picture of it and bring that into TattApp. You can also save your projects. This little save icon right here, you click on that. That brings up a dialog. Type in the name, you can save it. You can load in projects. I have a few here. So I'll pull in that one. Okay, and just make sure you're saving before you're closing everything out. Save your progress. And then you can also share, just like any other iPad app. Click the share button. You have all these different options. Email it. You can even add it to Procreate. So one last feature that's represented that I think is pretty cool is the ability to dip between ink colors. Here's some red. I can dip in some yellow to get more of an orange color. And again, I should probably be in the multiply mode. You know, I can dip in some more yellow. So you can color mix on the fly. Get some red. Let's go back over this. Come back in this direction. And let's dip in some blue. Blue and red make purple. So I want to dip in some green. That should make like a brownish color, I think. Not even close. Kind of makes it kind of gray. Dip in some more. Bring it more closer to green. And maybe I want to go into the yellow. All right. So this is one of my this is one of my favorite features of TattApp. This has been very useful. I do a lot of dipping between my colors when I'm tattooing. So that's TattApp. Those are all the features. Hopefully there'll be more coming soon. I built this so that I could have something to practice with, and since I've been using it, I've noticed my technique improving. The look of my tattoos have been improving. I've always been a believer that you get better with practice. The more you practice, the more you analyze what you're doing, look at your mistakes, and figure out how to solve them. That's how you get better. And I just feel like this app is much easier to practice on than getting out all your equipment and making a mess and trying to tattoo on livestock or vegetables or fruit, whatever. This is just so much easier. There's no mess. You don't have to wipe, so you can see exactly what your needles are doing and analyze your technique and work on getting better. So that's why I built this. I hope you find it useful. And yeah, tattoo on.